still alive when she left because she could hear Marlene moaning. So that's the fact of, like, that's what happened.
Christ.
Now comes Sophie's story, because she says, you know, well, no, this all makes sense. Sophie said yes, she went to Marlene's house and that everything was cordial until Marlene came at her with sexual intentions. She said Marlene tried to, like, she didn't say exactly what, but like she had some kind of sexy idea, whatever. And so Sophie, in a violent struggle, because she was being attacked in a sexual way from Marlene, grabbed a wine bottle that was in Marlene's house in self-defense and hit Marlene, and then wasn't sure Marlene couldn't get back up, so she kicked her a few times to flee.
But how are you explaining the part where she runs out the door and you pull her back in?
Yeah, not. Either way, the next part of Sophie's story is really weird. So Sophie said she went back to Marlene's house that night, later in the night, to see if she was okay. But she said that she found her dead from suicide by razor blade. She said she got there and Marlene had clearly killed herself with razor blades. Sophie said she just went back to her house after discovering Marlene dead. She didn't call the police or whatever, and she just carried on. That's Sophie's story for what happened. Sophie's not denying. She's like, yeah, I hit her. Yeah, I kicked her. Okay, so the next day, instead of calling the police, Sophie decides to buy a hacksaw to help make Marlene disappear, even though Marlene committed suicide, according to Sophie. So
what?
Sophie buys this hacksaw and doesn't go back to Marlene's apartment for 7 days.
No one noticed.
For 7 days.
Wait, what?
Nobody reports her missing. Okay, I'll get into that. No. So Marlene was left in her apartment for a week before Sophie went back. I'll explain how she got reported missing in a second.
Sarah, if I don't hear from you for 8 hours, I'm reporting you missing.
Yo, I mean, I know people like that who are like, I haven't heard from you, help.
Yeah.
I'm glad, though, because if I do go missing, thank you. I will hopefully be found.
Yeah, shout out to Christy with the twins. Because if Christy doesn't hear from me for an hour, she'll text everyone, mutual friends, Sarah, have you heard from Caitlin?
I'm like, yeah, she's fine.
If I go missing or get murdered, Christy will, her spidey senses will tingle and she will report me missing immediately. I just know it.
After I got bit from the spider, Evan just happened to say something like, oh yeah, I got my spidey senses tingling. And I looked at him, I was like, too soon. It's too soon. So she goes back to dispose of the body with her hacksaw that she just bought 7 days later. This is a little graphic.
Okay.
So just heads up. So Sophie first decapitates her. She cuts off each of her limbs, and she sometimes she cuts off the feet. She does at the knee. She does at the thigh. So it's not full limbs. She really breaks it up into
Jesus
pieces.
Christ.
Yeah. No, I know. It's really terrible.
Fucking psychopath.
Sophie finds a soup spoon in Marlene's kitchen, and she digs a hole in the communal gardens at Maryland's complex, and she buries her head there.
With a spoon?
With a soup spoon in the flower garden. Sophie then takes Maryland's dismembered body in plastic bags, garbage bags, to the Canal de Midi, which is a canal that runs through the middle of the town. It's downtown, essentially. This is not a river. There are people on the Canal de Midi,
this
all
is
the time.
That Japanese man who became the cannibal who brought a suitcase with a woman next to a restaurant people were eating at and was just dumping it in the river. What the fuck?
Yeah, so this is I don't know how no one saw her do this, but so she drops the remains in the water in different bags. She separates it out or whatever in the middle of town. So this murder took place on May 12th, we believe, that day that she left with the toothache.
Yeah.
Which is the last time anyone could even recall seeing Marlene. So Marlene was not reported missing until May 22nd, 10 days later. But it was only because a relative had not heard from her, and the relative found that unusual.
I wonder why work didn't report her missing.
I wonder why, too. I don't know. Maybe she was on vacation. There are details that we could be missing, but
because on it, I like to think, and I'm pretty sure, if I didn't show even a day, my work would be you just can't be a no-show.
Oh, if my work didn't hear from me in an entire day, I guarantee that they would call my husband within an hour.
They'd call the emergency contact.
They probably call for 2 hours or something.
I feel in the beginning they'd be like, oh, she slept in, she's late. Yeah. And then they'd start to worry, and maybe they'd ask other people. But they'd call your emergency contact by noon for sure.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And this just didn't happen here. I don't know why. Once she was reported missing, it had been 10 days. By then, Sophie had already disposed of her body, even though she waited 7 days, which, come on. amateur hour. Police weren't sure where Maryline had went, and they sent a team of forensic investigators to her apartment. They found some evidence of blood, but had no idea what had taken place. They didn't know if the blood was from recently or if it was bloody noses stuff. I don't know.
Always assume the worst if your person is missing and there's blood at their house.
Yeah, for sure.
Detective being 101.
So 2 days later, someone along the canal sees what appears to be a bag of human body parts.
Oh my God.
And phones the authorities because they see a foot. The next day, a different person sees a left arm and hand floating in the Canal du Midi. The next day, someone sees another arm. And then the next day, a torso. So every day, things are floating around. They realize that it is Maryline because the feet still had socks on them, and the socks were ones that Maryline had or something, and that they kind of connected the dots. So it was then that they began to put the puzzle pieces together. So police looked at phone records first, early on at least. I don't know if it was first, but they looked at Maryline's phone records, and that's when they saw that she had been communicating about a visit, and she had been communicating with Sophie. So they began to question her colleagues. And her colleagues were oh, Sophie hated Maryline. So they're oh, suspect number one. It happened immediately. So the police look at Sophie and they see that she has a background of embezzlement, some petty crimes. So okay, she's not totally, away from the law. So they do end up arresting her in suspicion to the murder. And so I'm going to get into some things in the court now because I couldn't find a lot of details of exactly what got her. I'm assuming it was phone records, but I don't know. So the court said that Sophie was of normal intelligence and that she had no mental disorders other than a lack of control and sickly egocentricity, which I was fancy words. So when questioned, Sophie was not remorseful in the slightest. She actually complained about Maryline when she was questioned. She said that Maryline made her look bad and then stuck with the story of self-defense and suicide. So she was yeah, I did it, but then stuck with that suicide story. So in court, Sophie, 55 years old, finally did admit to the murder. She was exhausted and teary-eyed. They said that she didn't look up during any of her court hearings at all. She just kept looking at the ground. And then at sentencing, which I'll get to in a second, she looked at her children and smiled. But not in a creepy way, but in a kind of sweet, it's okay kind of way. So after, I don't want to say sweet because she's not being sweet in any of this, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So after 4 hours of deliberation, Sophie was sentenced to 27 years for the murder of 53-year-old Maryline Planche. It also came to light that Maryline was even more vulnerable at the time of the attack because she was, no, this makes sense. I don't know if this is true. She was recovering from eye surgery, so she was visually impaired. I wonder if she was on sick leave.
Yeah.
Maybe because she had just had eye surgery and she couldn't see.
Yeah, you'd be on leave.
Yeah.
That makes sense why
so
she
that
would
might
be
be
reported missing.
Yeah.
You'd definitely be on leave.
So it might have been really good timing on Sophie's part because Sophie's not dumb. So maybe she deliberately did that. So the last day of trial, Sophie said that she regretted what she did and that she did not want to kill Maryline and also that she was not a monster through tears.
Yes, you are.
So she's currently serving her 27-year sentence.
She is a monster.
France.
And I hate her.
Oh, yeah. It's bad.
Wow.
Who chops up somebody?
That's a different, crime of passion, which I hate that phrase, but that's one thing. But going back to dismember that's not, that's...
And 7 days later?
Yeah, that's a whole different level.
And if you're going to go with the suicide story, which doesn't work very well, it can work.
It's probably a story that you couldn't...
You think to make that story sound better, that night you'd go, oh my God. You'd call the police and try to make it work from there. I don't know.
That's just insane.
She just definitely did show a lack of control and sickly egocentricity.
That's insane. And just such a pointless fucking murder.
And again, a murder I'd never heard of.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Crazy.
Wow. Good job.
Thank you. All right. I don't know what else to say about that.
Beer number 2?
Beer number 2.
I don't know how to say the brewery. It's Kiviuq. Kiviuq?
Ooh, Barbara. Can you look this up?
Barb.
Look this up and let us know.
The front is a skeleton, but he or she is wearing this big witch's cloak, black witch's cloak, and sitting in front of the moon. I love it. It is a Jolly Pumpkin Artisan Ale.
Oh, I'm really excited because we're getting into those seasonal guys.
So it's a rotating series. It says fruited oak aged saison. It's an ale brewed with blackberry, lime, and salt. Oh, is this not a pumpkin beer?
Why is it called the Jolly Pumpkin? There has to be pumpkin in it.
Jolly Pumpkin Artisan Ales. Oh, it says brewed with blackberry, lime, and salt. I don't know if this is a pumpkin beer.
Well, shit.
Jollypumpkin.com. Oh, Jolly Pumpkin Artisan Ale is the brewery.
Then what the hell is Kvyuk?
It's a Kvyuk rotating series. I'm sorry, I fucked up. Jolly Pumpkin is the brewery.
I am excited to try it. What is it? Blackberries and lime? Might be but it's a saison.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it'll be slightly tart.
With blackberry, lime, and salt. Interesting. Okay, so not a pumpkin beer like I thought. Oh, it doesn't make sense why there's limes on the cover.
I thought those were ovaries. I don't know.
I fucked up, but it should be good.
Okay.
Oh, I thought it was a pumpkin beer.
Well, yeah, because it says pumpkin on it.
Oh.
You guys, it's bright pink. It looks like Kool-Aid in a good way. It looks like juice, right? Oh, this is going to be really good or really bad. I can feel it, Caitlin. Luckily, we have backups. Sante.
It's too folded. Cheers too high. Okay. It is a really pretty color.
Wow. This is the color of...
I love the way it smells.
Something human.
Even the foam is pink. Like the head on top is pink.
Oh, no. It smells sour. Oh, no, Caitlin. No.
I'll taste it first.
Will I like it? Her face shows I won't like it.
You will not like it, but I kind of do. It has a very fresh blackberry flavor. They did a good job at that.
I like blackberries.
It is a sour. I promised you a pumpkin beer and I gave you a blackberry sour beer.
You know what? Though the salt brings it down a little bit.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And it's not, it's sour in a berry way. You know, if you get like a ripe blackberry it's sour. Yeah.
It tastes like a blackberry, like it has that tartness. So if you don't like sours, but want to like feel like you had one, this wouldn't be terrible because I don't like sours and I think I'll actually drink this.
It's not sour like shit was added to make it sour. It's just sour and tart in the way. And at the end, I really get a blackberry flavor. Mm-hmm. Like not syrup, like not syrupy, but real blackberries.
Well, I'm telling you, the salt too like helps. I really feel like there's some salt in there.
I like this. It's not pumpkin. Turns out I should read when I go to the store.
This has almost a wine.
Yes.
It's almost like a Riesling or something. It's very fresh.
Yeah.
This is definitely going to be in the like unique category for beers.
It's interesting. Yeah. And it's a rotating tap that they only have this time of year. So
I'm excited.
It actually is a good summer/fall beer because it's a like fruit. Like, I don't know. It's good for that transition because it's good for a hot day, but it's also a little fallish.
It's like a pie.
Yeah.
Like a berry pie.
It's like a blackberry tart.
A little cobbler over there.
Yeah. I don't hate it.
Me neither.
Okay. Are you fucking buckled up and ready?
Okay, hold on. Let me buckle and all the things. Bring the roller coaster seat down. Do I need a helmet?
Yeah, you might need elbow pads.
Okay, elbow pads.
Okay. So I don't want to spoil anything. This case is going to fit the theme in two ways. One, you won't find out until the end. And two, that'll be obvious up front.
That gave me no advice at all.
Do you know what I'm going to talk about? Okay.
No.
I want to tell you the story of the Marikana Massacre in South Africa. Have you ever heard of this?
No.
Okay. So my sources, Wikipedia, The Guardian, an article by David Batty, The Guardian, another article by Nick Davies, Al Jazeera News in South Africa, an article by Azad Essa, Maverick Citizen News, an article by Zukiswa Piccoli, probably saying it way wrong, but
sounded nice.
And a website called South African History Online.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, so this case probably isn't what you were expecting for the coworker-colleague theme, but once I came across it, I had to share this story. So I don't think there's a trigger warning, but I will say that this case has a lot to do with police violence against citizens.
Doesn't 2020?
Yes. So, and the level of injustice in this case just haunts me. So I'm going to jump in.
All right.
So I'm going to tell you the story of the Lawnmen Strike, which led to the Marikana Massacre in Wonderkop near Marikana Municipality in South Africa.
I understood none of that, but I'm following.
It's in South Africa.
Yes.
At the Lawnmen Mine.
Okay.
So this story starts on August 10th, 2012. So very close to your case.
Oh, ew.
I just say that a lot.
I say ew when things are like, ooh.
Ew, how dare they?
Ooh.
So around this time, a few reports came out, but reports were coming out about working conditions in mines in South Africa.
Oh.
It was reported that, quote, the benefits of mining